What's going on, my friends? For today's watch review, we're going to take a look at some new watches from a brand I've never heard of before. I got to tell you, this has been a really pleasant surprise because I didn't expect what I was going to get, and so far the experience has been awesome. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Before we get into it, let's knock out the wristwatch check real quick. Today I am rocking my Omega S&P 300, a beautiful watch, something that I consider to be the epitome of luxury. So I'm very excited to do a review on this one. But now to the stars of the show. Let's bring out the Geckotas. These are both Sea Hunters. The one on the left is the slim version, and then the one on the right is your typical dive style version. Going in the flow of my usual reviews, let's start off with price. So both of these are going to be around the same at around $450. You know, they're not exactly $450, but you know, ballpark, that's what you should expect to pay for both of them. Now taking a look at the dimensions, I will have both of those on the screen for you, so feel free to pause at any time. The slim line is going to be slightly smaller, both in diameter and case height. But if you were to put these side by side and look at them in person, you're really hard pressed to tell that much of a difference. You can tell that this one is slightly slimmer, but for the most part, they're pretty much identical. And that also goes with the weight as well. Both of them have a very satisfying heft to it, not too heavy, but dense enough to know that you've got a solid tool in your hands. Now just going over some general information for both of these watches. What you're gonna get is a sapphire crystal at the very top, a stainless steel case and bracelet, screw down crown right there on the right hand side, and then a screw down case back at the bottom. Both of these are also going to give you 200 meters of water resistance, so fantastic for everyday use and anything that you can throw it at. The major difference between the two is on this dive version, you're going to get a 120 click unidirectional bezel, which I must say is fantastic. It's very responsive, easy to grip, easy to turn, but it does not feel sluggish and there is zero back play. You're also going to get a date complication right there, and so that brings us to the movements. For the dive version, you're getting the PT 5000, which is an ETA 2824 clone, which I absolutely love. So I think the PT 5000 is a phenomenal movement. And then for this one, you're getting a Miyota movement. I believe it's the 9039, but as you can see, it has no date. I really like that clean look. I like less complications on my watches, but all in all, I am satisfied with the engines on both of these watches. Both of these are also going to come with very good lume. I'm going to tell you though, the slimline version I think is the winner here. I don't know what they use, but it's outstanding. The dive version is great, but the slimline just knocks it out of the park. And I'm not trying to make this a comparison. Really, the point of this video is to highlight just how happy I am with Geckota as a brand. But, it's just an observation. The lume on the slimline is better. Now, for the dial, both of these dials I think are great. They're very classy, almost not retro, not vintage, but I mean, if I had to pick a word, I guess I would pick those two. It's almost like 60s in its style. With the dive version, it really reminds me of an old Gibson electric guitar, and that big G at the front of Geckota definitely helps correlating Gibson with this watch for me. And then for the slim line, I don't know what it is, just the small indices, and then at the 12, 3, 6, and 9, those triangle indices, it kind of just reminds me of like one of those classic cars with the tail fins, if you know what I'm talking about. Either way, whatever it reminds you of, for me personally, I like them because it does have that more classic feel to it. But aside from the aesthetics, I think it's a very practical watch. Everything is easy to see, clearly labeled. The indices are right there, pronounced, and I've got no complaints with it. The hour and minute hand are very unique, almost odd, like something you would see from like It's a Small World from Disney World. But because it's so unique and kind of strange, I do like it. It gives these watches that quirky quality that I'm constantly seeking in every watch. Now let's move on to the right hand side of the case and take a look at these crowns here. So for the slimline, it's fantastic. Everything is great. The threading is machined accurately and of high quality, so it's just a pleasant experience to operate this crown. You do have the Gibson logo, right? I'm sorry, not Gibson, Geckota. The G keeps reminding me of Gibson guitars. You've got the Geckota logo right there, so it does give, it's Geckota character in the watch, and I very much like that. The star of the show here, though, is on the dive version here, because it's got that gold plating on it and it ties the whole watch together. I mean, the gold on the indices and, on that logo, everything, it's really well made and well done. I like the thought process there and the design, and the fact that they implemented that into the crown is a small touch that they didn't have to do, but it's the small touches like this that really make a big impact, and I very much like that. As far as the quality, it's the same exact thing as the Slimline. Fantastic, threaded well and accurate, and it is just a joy to use. Sometimes you get those watches where you're unscrewing it and it just feels like you're binding up the threading, and it's not a pleasant experience. Here you don't have any of that. It's a great crown. And then let's go to the back side and take a look at that Caseback. This is my biggest disappointment with it. It's this high polished Caseback. It didn't have to be an exhibition Caseback or display Caseback, but they could have had something brushed, something more industrial and rugged or tough looking. This high polished finish here, I'm not a fan of. It makes it look cheap, but it is not really visible, so I will forgive it in this case. And for the bracelets, I think these bracelets are 10 out of 10. So you've got dual push button deployment clasp here, milled steel clasps, and it just feels good. You can definitely tell if you're getting a watch with decent quality steel or not. And I'm not against hollow links or anything like that, but in this case, it just feels a very good quality. It feels a little bit softer and silkier than your typical steel bracelet. And, to me, that translates as very good quality. Same thing here with the dive version. You've got a Jubilee style bracelet and it looks great. No complaints here. I can't really critique it too much because it's just a solid ass bracelet, and that's all I got to say about that. And moving on to the finishing, 10 out of 10 here. There's nothing here that I would change. On the sides, you've got an overall brushed finish, and it's just slightly polished where it needs to be to give it that slight visual play. And same thing here with the Slimline. Fantastic. They just did an outstanding job here. What I really like on this one, the Slimline, is that on the bezel area, they made it mainly a brushed finish, and then on the beveled portion is where they decided to mirror polish it. So my biggest complaint with watches like this is there's too much mirror polish, but here they were very conservative with the mirror finishing. It's mostly a brushed watch, and then the mirror finish is there just to accentuate the brushed surface. And I think that's a fantastic job there. So excellent job. Now just moving on to my overall thoughts. I don't know if I mentioned it already, but Geckota is a brand that I had no idea existed. I'm pretty sure they're a popular brand, but I'm not, too in the know. I'm pretty basic with my watch brand knowledge, so I usually stick with Seiko, Omega, Tudor, Timex, just the big name popular brands. I don't really branch out too much. I don't know if they're a micro brand, but either way, they're not a mainstream brand. I think we can all agree on that. So anyways, what I'm trying to say is that my discovery of Geckota was like me branching out to the unknown. I didn't know what I was going to get, and what I did get was such a pleasant surprise. And when it comes to watch collecting, it just doesn't get any better than that. Finding a watch brand that you didn't know existed, and then only to find that it exceeds your expectations in quality. I really didn't know what I was getting into. All I knew is that I really liked their designs, from the font to the case shape. You kind of have this Patek Philippe Nautilus thing going on, and I like that. I really like that, and the pricing wasn't bad. And all in all, there was no reason for me not to try out these watches. So I went ahead and ordered it, and when I got it, it smacked me in the face. And when that happens, you know you got something special. What I really like about this dye version is there's a lot of little things going on that don't overwhelm you with details. So when I talk about a lot of little things, I'm talking about the gold highlights. You've got that little red bezel. You've got that gold plating on the crown. A lot of little things, but it's not so much that it looks tacky. It all just really ties together very well. And then with the slimline, you've got something that is just so beautifully simple and clean, and you can't really go wrong with it. You know, it's just a steel silver tone watch with a black dial that looks good. And so if you were not obsessed with collecting watches like I am, you could get these two watches and this could be it. You know, this could be your 2-watch collection. You could have this one for more, you know, I guess, adventurous activities. It is a dive watch. But you've got the Jubilee bracelet and those gold highlights make it a little bit more elegant. So, you know, it's a sports watch, but I think it could also be an office watch. And then here, when you're wanting to be a little bit less intense without the bezel, you know, this is also a great go out and relax watch, going on a date, movie night, you name it. You know, these 2 watches can very easily satisfy everything that you would need from a watch in your day-to-day lifestyle. When we're talking about value, I definitely think the value is there. You know, $450, that's not cheap, but I think, in my opinion, you're getting very easily $450 worth of watch. I have purchased $1,000 watches that didn't give me anywhere near as much joy as these watches have, and didn't have anywhere near the attention to detail that these watches have. So, you know, take it or leave it, right? You know, interpret that for however you will. Just for me and my experience, these watches are great value. And another beautiful thing about Geckota that I realized is there's a lot of variety. So these aren't the only models they have. In the slimline, they've got different color dials. And then for this one, they've got different color bezels and dials, and you can really fine tune on the right watch that meets or that resonates with you the most. So long story short, I really like this brand. I don't know if I like their other watches. They look clean, they look really good, but you know, they don't really resonate with me as much as these Sea Hunters did. So who knows? In the future, I wouldn't be opposed to trying out their other watches, but for now, I'm just really happy with these 2. And if you've never heard of Geckota and you're sort of in a watch brand rut, you know, you're trying to branch out to different ones, then these are Simucom Reviews approved. I give these watches 100% my recommendation for you any day of the week. So that's all I got to say. I hope you enjoyed this short review. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel and feel free to follow any of my other social media accounts. The websites are in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in my next review. All right, bye.